time now for a look through the papers with Deeptika Laurent. And of course, Deeptika, you're starting with a look at the French presidential election. It's still dominating newspapers here.
That's right, Sharon. It's really dominating newspapers, but particularly that feeling that President Emmanuel Macron sort of scraped through in this presidential election. That's really the feeling that's persisting in the papers today. As the Communist paper, we put together two front pages side by side, so you get a sort of a comparative view there. This is the Communist paper, L'Humanité, that's on the right. They're really noting that his victory is really tempered by the rising success of the far right and the feeling that for many people who voted for Macron, at least, it was not a vote of conviction. Are you listening, Macron? That's what L'Humanité asks the French president. Are you listening to what the French people want, to the symbolism of that vote on Sunday? Libération, the left-leaning paper that's on the left there, well, they're also asking a question of the French president today. Okay, so are things really going to change? So two big questions for Macron now.
And meanwhile, La Croix, it's certainly not mincing its words today, is it?
No, it's very blunt in its editorial today. The Catholic paper saying that Macron's victory can't mask an undeniable truth that he won thanks to the mobilization of older voters. So La Croix says, well, going forward now, it's time for him to make young people a priority, and with it, the issues that preoccupy young people, unemployment, housing, and of course, climate change. Le Figaro, the right-leaning paper in their editorial today, says if Emmanuel Macron wants to reconcile the French people, well, it begins by the way he talks. He's got to start talking more simply and more humbly to the French people, and not in a way that it feels like he's talking down to them. He also needs to understand the root of French people's anger. In summary, a Herculean task awaits President Emmanuel Macron in the second mandate.
And the campaign for that election begins shortly. It's another task awaits him in the parliamentary elections. We're looking ahead now to June, Deepti.
And it's on the front page of L'Orient Le Jour, which is a French-language Lebanese paper today, reminding us that the three major parties in France now are Emmanuel Macron's party, the far right and the far left. In fact, its importance of these parliamentary elections is really highlighted by the Lebanese paper today, which says, look, the presidential election, well, that's dead now. Long live those parliamentary elections, and a parliamentary election in which Emmanuel Macron's party could lose its majority and be forced into a power-sharing structure. In any case, L'Opinion, the right-wing paper's cartoonist today, has already sort of prepared for that scenario. Here you have Brigitte Macron already preparing the spare room in the Élysée for the party who might be sharing power with the president after June.
So a more sobering story than Deepti. You're turning to the US, where the state of Texas, it's ordered a halt to the execution of a female prisoner who had been on death row.
That's right. This case had garnered a lot of attention in Texas and nationwide as well. Melissa Lucio, a Latina woman and mother of 14, has been on death row for about 15 years. She's now been given a temporary reprieve, and she was actually on death row for the death of her 2-year-old daughter, who died after falling down stairs. Judges have found that the claims raised by her lawyers need to be considered, including the allegation that prosecutors used false testimony and suppressed evidence that could have worked in her favor. It's why her execution has been halted. In particular, there are now doubts about whether her daughter's death was actually an accident or not, really casting strong doubts on her guilt as well. Lucio's case, as I said, really gripping Texas. It's also inspired a documentary and really drew bipartisan outrage in Texas.
Another story that's been on the front pages, not just in the US, but right around the world, I imagine, this morning, it's Elon Musk.
That's right. The richest man in the world dropping $40 billion or so to buy Twitter today. Papers aren't really overjoyed by this, so Sharon, you see this in the front of in this article from the New York Times, which warns Twitter under Elon Musk will be a scary place. Musk being a man who used the social media platform to slime his critics and body shame people and defy securities laws. The website Slate says it a little less eloquently, we might say, this morning, saying that, he's just impulse bought a really big problem that will only, quote, have stressful, annoying, and expensive paths ahead of him for various reasons. Slate explains financially there's obviously a lot at stake for Elon Musk, but he's also bought a social media platform that really has a hard time turning its big user base into profits. So it's not really that profitable for the moment. Anyway, people on Twitter have been using Twitter to sort of roast the new owner of the social media platform. This person here saying Elon Musk spending all that money to stop getting bullied on Twitter when he could have simply been less annoying in the first place.
Finally then from you, Deepti, a childhood staple. It's turning 100.
That's right. The gooey, sweet, sticky candies that are gummy bears turn 100 this year. They were made by the German sweet maker Haribo in 1922. They were invented in Bonn by Hans Riegel, and it's still a family business. And as you might know, the gummy bear has undergone quite a few transformations. There are even gummy versions of sushi and Lego, but also gummy supplements, low-sugar gummy bears, alcoholized versions, sour versions. Interestingly, gummy bears didn't actually take off until the 1980s, but it also spawned a subculture. In fact, on TikTok, there's a thing called Candy Talk, where people watch videos of gummy bears being poured into metal bowls, and it's apparently garnered something like 600,000 views already.
Those kind of videos, they can be quite relaxing.
They are very relaxing.
So from dancing bears to a worldwide phenomenon. Thank you so much, Deepti, with the press review.